Hey, what's up, everybody? Video 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so do the Memphis Grizzlies talk too much? I think for me, man, growing up in the era that I grew up in, I remember guys who talked a lot. Sometimes they backed it up too. You know what I mean? From the era that I remember hearing about before the era I watched, it was Larry Bird and Michael Jordan. Those guys talked, man. Mike would talk, Gary Payton. You know what I'm saying? This isn't new. Ain't nothing Josh saying that Gary ain't said 3 times over or Larry ain't said 3 times over. I just think the problem is that it's new for this generation. I think that's what it is for a lot. They don't really like the bolstering. They used to the buddy era that we just came out of. Bron, 80, and Wade, and everybody. You know, they all had a certain level of camaraderie. It was like the whole league was in the game, you know, together. That's not the league that was before them, and that's not where we are right now. These kids are back to wanting to, you know, be competitors and don't care to be respectful and aren't, you know, thin-skinned as some of the guys who came before them. They're not thin-skinned. And some of the little ones. I saw a post on IG with some little kids doing all types of, you know, showboating, so to speak. But I looked at the other kids, and they weren't reacting like I would react when I was little, or some of the kids next to me would react. It's not the same vibe. The culture's different. They receive it differently. It doesn't hurt their feelings to be boasted in front of. So we got to adjust to that as old heads and some of the, you know, older guys to understand these kids are growing up in the video game age. They don't know a game, the NBA game, without some dancing after it hit its 3-point shot or doing some type of move. They don't know a world where they don't do that. And most importantly, it's probably very boring for them to watch without it. So it's just part of the entertainment. We're in a WWE type of. This is the evolution of what they started, you know, with wrestling when they was doing all kinds of extras. This is the carryover from that, and that's why I think the NFL needs to let those guys do their thing too. Let them bolster a little bit. Don't get caught up in your own way of perceiving things. Look at how the kids are perceiving what's going on around them. Because that's what it is. It's like we think that our definition of bullying is the same as theirs, but their entire culture is different. They don't receive it the same way. They don't evoke the same thoughts in their heads. It doesn't bother them like that. And so as long as we can just follow their lead, see, are they offended? No, okay, cool. That's it. You know, and they talk back and forth to each other. We got teams in the NBA like the Suns. They do it too. You know, and it does annoy. And the one thing that comes to mind is if you can't back it up, you're gonna look foolish. I say the same thing in my Lakers, though. I can't sit up here and act like we don't engage in the same type of stuff when we do the rock the baby and do all kinds of flexing and we end up losing games. You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, it's a different way of doing it, but it still ain't backed up by any winning. So what I would say to the Memphis Grizzlies is, you, after losing the game you lost to us, probably, by sheer definition, don't have any reason to be doing all that. You don't. Because you actually allowed a game where you had 25 offensive rebounds take place on your side, and you still lost the game because you couldn't simply hit free throws. And your stars couldn't keep from shooting too much. So these are the type of things just like, look, those who back it up, like Larry and Mike, their teams didn't play that like that. They was winning. Gary Payton, they wasn't playing like that. They was winning. Gary Payton was locking you down while he was talking trash. Larry Bird was scoring and passing and rebounding and defending while he was talking. Michael was doing all of those things while he was talking. Kobe was doing all those things while he was talking. So if John Morant can do all of those things while he's talking, it'll have the same effect. That's simply put. It'll have the same effect. And while he was on that 11-game winning streak, I don't think it was a whole lot too many could say to him because he was winning. But I would tell you this. Regular season don't mean ish. It don't mean much, man. It don't mean much. And I think for a guy like John Morant, I think where he may be getting lost, he may think now is forever. I think he's not. The fact that this can be taken from him doesn't seem like it's real to me. That's what it seems like. You think he's jumping out the gym, he's doing superhuman stuff. He said he doesn't feel like he's human. That's when it starts to become a problem because you start believing your own lies and you start thinking you have to get better at certain things and you start thinking you don't have to get disciplined at certain things. And you start thinking that your mouth can actually back up everything you're talking when you still have a lot of part of the game to master. You got plenty of game to master. And so if you don't see yourself as a student of the game while you woofing, then you're going to get beat by somebody who's better than you eventually. You know what I mean? And the team that's going to hoist the trophy is just going to make you look foolish. So that's what I would tell John Morant. It's like, you better have a balance about yourself. If you're going to do all this, you better make sure you're still learning all of that so that you can back it up and make it make sense. Because if you don't, we're going to call you out. But as long as you're winning, ain't nothing to say. But y'all coming off a loss, so y'all should be quiet right now. That's what I think. You know, you're only as good as your last win. Especially if you ain't got no championships. You know, that's where my head is. So, as I said before, I think John Morant, and I single him out, but it's the whole team. Dylan Brooks, all of these guys, man. Baines, all of them. They're gonna find out that energy don't really work in their favor. And when you do all of that, all it does is put a target on your back, make people hate you, and that hate turns into extra inspiration that you don't need. That's the part, that's the elephant in the room that nobody understands about doing that. You're giving people extra energy to come at you, extra keen focus to come at you, extra focus at the free throw line, stuff that is outside of your control, you put in theirs. When you give them that type of respect to say, I'm going to boast over you and do all this jumping around, now you're essentially saying, bring me your best. That's what Mike was doing. Bring me your best. I don't want to play against you at half-mast. Come at me when you're 100%. I want you focused. I want you sober. Don't drink the night before. Don't do nothing the night before. I want to beat you. That's how Larry and them got down. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's a different era. It's a different focus, but it's still proven in the same arena. You trying to compete with those guys. So that's what it is. You better win. You better hoist some trophies. You better put yourself in a position to be the pinnacle. You know what I mean? It's another thing, too. We got to mention it. Steph Curry. Who talk more than Steph? Who does more boasting than crybaby? Who does more than him? But guess what? He's backing it up. He's backing it up. He's got rings on rings and rings and things. Dynasties attached to his name. So anytime he does this, we can't do nothing. What you gonna do? Because when you start having a conversation with him about what it is, he's gonna start showing you the jewelry. So it's like, that's what it's about. If you don't have the jewelry to back it up, nothing's respectable. You can be the most humble player that never says anything. You still a winless humble person. You know what I mean? It ain't limited to that either. A lot of these dudes walk around like they got their head held high, like they dignified. They ain't got no rings either. It is what it is. They ain't no better than homeboy who's talking out of his mouth, who ain't got nothing. It's just about how you carry yourself and how people receive it. You know what I mean? But it's, at the end of the day, John Morant, I expect him to be a trophy holder in his career. I don't expect him to go ringless in his career. For all that we say about John Morant, it's not like I don't think he's going to get to that point. I do think he gets there. But for the time being, he's going to have to understand that this game can be taken from anybody. Anybody. You know, I watched Kobe Bryant almost lose the game. Seriously. They tried to take it from him. So you got to understand, like, you just got to take every game like it matters. You know, not everybody gets to be in your position, obviously, at that level. Clearly not. So just appreciate it for what it is and enjoy it, man. Enjoy it, but don't let it turn into bad energy. As long as it's good energy, it's cool. But once it turns into something that, you know, something bad, it's foul. But look, John Morant's been doing a lot of good. To offset whatever you guys perceive as him talking, he also was, at the end of the game, gave his shoes to a young child at the end of the Laker game. At a loss, you know. So we got to point out the good as well. So I think it was tough, you know. It's not easy walking off of a floor like that after having an 11-game losing streak. But he still managed to do that. So I think it's worth talking about. At the end of the day, the Memphis Grizzlies are a better team than my Lakers. We still managed to beat them. So I'm not going to sit up here and hold my head too high talking as a Laker fan. But what I will say is, if you're not going to win a championship, all that woofing is going to make you look crazy to champions like us. Video 44. Thank you all for watching. Out.